It was 1991, and I remember I was standing around with about 4 other guys at the Central Intelligence Agency, and we were looking at the television set, listening to Peter Arnett. Peter Arnett was at the El Rashid Hotel talking about what was going on in Iraq. The reason I'm telling you this story is very simple. I was with the CIA, and the most we knew about the Iraq War in many ways came from Peter Arnett from CNN. It wasn't just us, it was everybody in the US government. Lest you think that the CIA failed when it came to that war, we can take you all the way back to Korea. How about Vietnam? Well, boy, shall we go through the list of things that went wrong? Well, actually, somebody did. A Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, Tim Weiner, a reporter, has been looking at this, and he's written multiple books, but his latest book sits right in front of me, Legacy of Ashes, The History of the CIA. Tim, thank you for coming in studio.
Really appreciate it. Nice to be with you.
I started that way because that was my personal experience. I remember thinking when I started at the agency, this is the all-knowing, all-seeing organization that's going to get me on the inside to see what's really going on in the world. And there I stood in front of that TV set, and all of the people around me were as confused as I was as we watched Peter Arnett. And I thought, something is fundamentally wrong here.
We know the CIA primarily through movies, TV. We think it's Mission Impossible. We think it's The Bourne Identity, 24, or maybe Get Smart. But it is none of those things. It is an organization of more than 20,000 Americans who are trying their damnedest to see the world as it is. That's the mission, to know your enemy, to give the president the information he needs, or she needs, to form a strategy for the United States, not for tomorrow, not for next week, but out over the horizon, and to prevent surprise attacks. That's a tall order.
I remember there is a hallway at CIA headquarters in Langley that has a signature, a handwritten note and signature of every president all the way back to Truman. So during the OSS times and up to the current president at the time, and I'm sure there is now from George W. Bush too, thanking the people of the CIA for what they have done. But how much should the presidents thank the agency for what they have done?
Well, the fact is, and we have this on the good authority of Richard Helms, who was director of Central Intelligence for 7 years under Presidents Johnson and Nixon, that not one president, with the possible exception of George H.W. Bush, who after all ran the agency for 11 months back in the 70s, has really understood the first thing about the secret operations of the CIA. And presidents and directors of Central Intelligence get crossways a lot. Presidents become extremely frustrated with the CIA. Presidents want answers right now. They want their problem solved immediately. They want, to quote Winston Churchill, action this day. Espionage can't always do that for you.
Is that part of the problem, that the expectation is more than is reasonable under the circumstances?
Yes. Presidents come into office thinking the CIA is a silver bullet, that it can solve problems for them. And they spend years in office hoping that that is so. In 1988 and 99, when there were attempted snatch operations against Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan, President Clinton wondered aloud to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Hugh Sheldon, why we didn't just get some black helicopters and some black-clad ninjas and rappel down into the deserts of Afghanistan and stuff the guy into a burlap sack. Now, this is a president who thought the CIA was Mission Impossible. It ain't.
But you know, there is a difference, and this is one of the things that I do remember, is oftentimes what we saw from White Houses of the past is that they would sometimes go to the Pentagon and they would say, go do this thing for me. And the Pentagon was so big, the operations were so large, so convoluted, and so top-heavy that it would take forever to get something done. And so, and I'm thinking back to times in Nicaragua, I'm thinking back to the Contra times, when the White House would turn to the agency and say, because it's a much more narrow window, you only have to go to the CIA director, You only have to go to the deputy director of operations, and from there you got your people pretty quickly to say, go do this thing. It was actually a simpler operation to use those guys, wasn't it?
No. Presidents want to have, and should have, an option between sending in the ambassador and sending in the Marines. And that is part of the role and the mission of the CIA. Unfortunately, you need good intelligence to begin with before you act. You need the CIA to go know the world before it goes out to change the world. Action without good intelligence is folly, as we have learned to our sorrow in Iraq.
Tim Weiner is my guest. Again, a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist. His latest book, Legacy of Ashes, he joins me in studio. How difficult is it then to get close to the quote-unquote bad guys without becoming one of those very bad guys that you say you're going to fight?
You know from your own experience in the clandestine service of the CIA that you better have a very good moral gyroscope inside you, inside your head, inside your heart. Because at root, what you're trying to do, working overseas, is to get foreigners to commit treason, to betray their country, to betray their army, to betray their creed, and to work in secret on behalf of the United States. During the Cold War, it was relatively easier to get foreigners, particularly communists, to volunteer to work for the United States in secret, because we stood for liberty, for justice, for freedom, for democracy. And the communists most certainly did not, although they tried to steal those words. It is relatively harder now to try to get Islamists from the Mediterranean to the Pacific to betray their cause to work for the United States, in part because of the way in which we have conducted the war on terror.
I remember when I first saw the photos of Abu Ghraib. And at the time, and I wrote in some national publication, that this is the photo of the man on the box with his arms out.
Hooded man.
And I remember saying, this is the recruitment poster for Al-Qaeda and every extremist and not so extremist group in the Middle East and across the Muslim world.
And so it has been.
And rightfully so. Am I wrong? I mean, think about this. Every time that anybody on the other side does something wrong, what we do is we say, see, that represents who they are, meaning all of them. What they have done is exactly the very same approach. They are saying that when we did this, or somebody did this, that's who we are. And we have to deal with the ramifications of that.
And this is a tragedy. This is truly a tragedy. The mission of the CIA has been made incalculably harder because the President of the United States authorized, in fact ordered, the CIA to use any means necessary, up to and including torture, to gather information. Now we remember, I think we all remember, what it was like in the days and weeks and months after 9/11 when we were attacked. There was a great fear that there was going to be a follow-on attack, a second, maybe a third. There was a lot of bad info flowing in, a lot of bad intel. There was a lot of noise. And under the circumstances, it is perhaps understandable in retrospect that such orders were authorized. But I think the CIA very quickly became uncomfortable with the legal authority it believed it had from the Commander-in-Chief.